Hey, here I am back with the N57, so I've got a head off now. I want to see if we've had any piston to valve contact. So the other fella who's had the same thing happen at the same time, who's posting on piston heads, he's a few weeks ahead of me. He got his head off a couple of weeks ago, and he could see an imprint of the QR code from the piston on one of his valves. So see, they've got a QR code there. So I've got the head off. Well, first of all, yeah, we have had contacts. That's pretty obvious, really, because we've got 4 valves on the head. 4 valves per cylinder, sorry. See them there, yeah? And you can quite clearly see the circles here, yeah? And here. Now, the engine's rotated from how it was in the other video, so this end had the most play in the conrod, so the bearing was spun and shrunk from however thick it's supposed to be. About that thick, whatever that is, about 2mm I think, to like 1/2 mil. So these 4 were really obvious. These 2 not so. Still knackered, but I couldn't feel loads of wobble. I've just been cleaning this up. Obviously the engine being on a slant like this, all the oil that was in the valve cover and whatnot had ended up down here, so I've just been trying to clean it up. Which is why it's looking a bit funny. Like, this looks different to these, obviously, but it's just because I've been cleaning out pools of oil from some of them and not others. Anyway, so yeah, we can see a little fine imprint here, but I'm not sure how much of a big deal it is, really. So what you have to keep in mind is that with the connecting rod that joins the piston to the crank here, with its bearing disappearing and it having slop, it can move up that extra 2mm. Now, I hadn't realised they were that close, but obviously they are. Trying to make best use of the space as they can, you know. Yeah, compress everything down as much as possible and stuff. So yeah, it surprised me that just a slight worn bearing means a piston can hit the valves. But I suppose the thing to note is that they're not. Yes, I want to have to check that the conrods are not been bent or anything like that, because the piston's coming up and it's hitting the valve, yeah, or valves bent, camshafts bent. I'm gonna have to see what needs checking and check it. But what I would say, seems to me, obviously with that bearing being gone, it's like, yes, the piston can overshoot, but it's not being forced. It's only got its momentum behind it. It can overshoot and smack into the valves, but it's not fighting against the crank, because it's just a gap being taken up. The piston's coming up and the crank stops, and the piston can carry on that little bit, but you know, when it hits the valve, it will just get knocked back. So clearly not good, but it's not like they're hitting against each other with the force of fire behind it. It's just the momentum of the piston and conrod, which obviously ain't good, but it's just a thought that I had anyway. And you know, it's that you can kind of see that because they were just markings. You know, it's not smashed the piston. It's not grooved it. It was just a faint imprint. And you know, now that I've sort of touched it with my fingers, it's not visible at all. I've kind of run out of rags now, so right, you know, I've just wiped around that, and now is there really anything visible anymore on here? We'll look at the valves in a minute. See, not really. So this was the worst one for actual play in the big end. So again, it's just a mark, really. Not too sure what I'm looking at there. Just carbon build up. Oh, sorry, I thought that was in shot. Remember this end didn't have as much play. Still had a spun rod bearing, but this didn't have loads of play. This was the worst. All four of these were horrendous. Just gonna put the camera on a tripod for a sec. Now, as I say, I'm kind of out of rags here, so I'm not sure how much further I'm going to go today. Let's see if we can just have a look at the valves. What am I resting on there? That's okay, just a lifting eye bolt. Resting on that, just turn it the other way up. Yeah, don't do that. Okay, so I've got very dirty hands and no legs. See if there's anything interesting to see. Which way up was it? That's exhaust side, and that's exhaust side. So this was the worst side. These were the worst for this timing side, back of the engine. Timing chain comes up here. Was the least knackered. So if we're going to see piston imprints or something, it's going to be here. So is that a bit of QR code? Yeah, maybe, because it's always this valve. How does that tally? Oh, QR code's in the middle actually, so it would be. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, there we go. There's the QR code there. That square. Interesting. So yeah, so we picked up some QR code. And there. Yeah, cool. Fancy that. So we picked up some there on number 4. As I say, it's just a piston inertia behind it. So number 4 there, that one. So yeah, interesting. So I'll be pulling the pistons out anyway. Take a good look at the big ends with the caps back on. Maybe check them for roundness, I suppose. Yeah. All right. Cheers.